Hey, what's up, guys? It's Tomas here at Ultimo. Here's a quick video of a Perfecto that I did hand rolled using paper as a mold. This is a traditional process, Tabanero process, that you might find on a farm in Cuba where they're taking the individual leaves and bunching them up in hand and then using a piece of paper as a means to mold or press the cigar. As with all of our cigars, we take the central vein out of every leaf in all of our cigars. So all of these are half leaf with no vein. And I'm doing kind of a entubado where I'm rolling them into individual tubes and layering the tobaccos. Here I'm tearing them off and I'm kind of ensuring that the filler in the middle is going to have a little bit more density or a little bit more filler in the center. So that way it tapers out toward the ends at the foot and the cap of the cigar. This particular cigar, we're using African and Dominican fillers, and then we're using a Nicaragua binder leaf. And so, as with any cigar, you want to make sure you have a component that's going to help the cigar burn, and that would be like a light seco leaf, for example. In this case, we're using the African Cameroon, and then we use a Dominican Seco for a nice aromatic component, and then the Dominican Ligero for more of our flavor and boldness. As I'm layering the tobaccos, I'm making sure that I'm retaining the density that I need throughout the cigar and ensuring that the ligero leaf is placed toward the center so that it burns evenly. Next, I'm going to put the binder leaf on here, ensuring that the foot of the cigar is going to be nice and tight, and then rolling it up into the cap side and making sure that is tight as well. So you can see kind of like a turn as I go. Here I'm trimming off the excess tobacco from the binder, finding the areas that are nice and dense so that way we don't have any hollow spots, trimming it to length, and then wrapping in the paper. And you'll see that I do kind of a similar method with the paper as I do with the binder leaf, starting with the corner, making sure it's nice and tight to give us a good taper on the end, doing a little bit of a turn as I work through the belly of the cigar and then turning back up and tightening toward the cap end of the cigar and getting it nice and tight there. And then I'll put a piece of tape to hold it in place. Here I let the cigar sit in the mold, I guess you could say, for a little while, about an hour before I put the final wrapper leaf on. This is a Ecuador Habano wrapper leaf, deveining the center, making sure that I don't tear up the leaf as I go. A little bit of water on the board just helps it stick. It's just a light mist. It doesn't dampen the leaf too much or wet the leaf. There's no soaking in the leaf there. Doing a little bit of a trim. Now, when you're doing a figurado or a perfecto like this, where you're going to have a taper at the end, you have to do a little bit of a special trim to ensure that you are not having excess material that can cause bunching, similar to doing a torpedo, but we're starting it with a bit of a flag as opposed to just at the end having kind of a flag. Putting a little bit of glue, just making sure that the tobacco stays nice and flat as I wrap it around. Key thing here is making sure that the uh, bunch itself, as it lays on the leaf, has the right angle so that way you don't have areas where you're not getting good overlap. So you see here, I noticed that the overlap isn't great, so I adjust my angle to get the good coverage. And then as we get to the belly of the cigar, that's where we want that kind of S-shaped curve. Slightly pulling tight and twisting at a very minimal angle just to keep it at a good tight seam. Trim the excess off, create a flag that is going to go around the cap of the cigar. And again, that's going to make sure that the cigar stays nice and tight, but also ensure that it doesn't unravel or unwrap by putting enough glue under there. This would be considered a double cap on the cigar, so that whole wrapper leaf wrapping around and folding on itself would be our first cap. And then we do a circle and split the circle to make our second cap, just to ensure that the cigar is nice and clean at the end. So here we apply it, kind of split that circle, and then wrap it around the end of the cigar and then on itself, just giving it a nice clean torpedo style end. Here I have my tuck cutter adjusted with the blade up so that way it comes up to the cigar with that taper at the end. Going to do a little bit of roll to flatten that down, make sure the veins lay flat, and that's pretty much it. So make sure you guys give it a try. It's a unique shape to do and something fun.